I was just thinking, I got stolen by researchers, and I did hashtag everybody there, even names of researchers when it came the first one. And the first dream I was saying earlier this morning, in bits of these videos, that I was out buying groceries, and then a police car comes, so I take another dive somewhere. And maybe that's what happened. That's why maybe I went in Montreal with all this coronavirus. I was preaching, and here I haven't defended myself in Ontario, Niagara Falls, when I wanted to be a boxer. So I left, and maybe probably they would have checked me up and put me in jail because tonight, and then release. I don't know. And I said I don't have time, and I did like this. I see somebody doing this, and I said this morning, that's 2 days that I'm running away from God because He didn't give me a prophetic sport, and 2 days I had no dreams. So I wake up this morning, and now I'm surprised because now it's like 2 or 3 days. 2 days, right? Or 3 nights. And I slept out in the cold like this, and I slept long. 2 times I woke up, and I didn't seek shelter, 24 hours bus or not. I went back to sleep in a chair outside, man. And I'm well rested, man, after 2 days out since the family in Montreal. And I'm telling you, I see somebody doing this finally when I woke up. I'm like, oh, nothing. As a vision, not a dream, man. But just before, he showed me a ticket of the bus that you buy in Subways, and he says they still have those. So I'm like, oh, I can take the bus now in the morning. It was cold, warm it up, and God is telling me steals, because that in North, it's a street that is very long. And one time only I took it because like 2-3 months ago, two fells to stay in Montreal in maybe 6 years. So one was after my mom got sick. I went, but already there was tension. My brother, within a week, hey, everybody out, me, and then even my mom, with no arguments. Was just frustrated, sexually bitch, frustrated asshole. 40-some years, never been sick physically like me. I don't know if he's called to be a priest. I doubt it. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, but doesn't read the Bible. So, to his own detriment. How many times I told him. So he can't do that, he can't do this. You might be feel touched somewhere else, but if it's not your little brother, though, how many times you told him stuff and you follow the path of art way after him and stuff. Well, maybe I'm not a good example as a Christian, but man, who wants to be sick? That was my call. They call it suffering soul, and it's a balance. There's some saints that were 30 days in the bed. I was like this at the beginning. Of course, there was some patty, but and start like this, your religious converted life. Oh man. Anyways, so can't blame him for that. But I bought him a nice Bible years ago, 2010, and letter and everything when he was starting to buy books, started to interest himself more. By the time I returned, see him maybe within a year. My mom was there too, living with him. That new house, man, the guys he throw it out, throw it in the garbage with other stuff, or I don't know what. If it's obviously it's the devil in him that did this. Do not sleep around his books, because one time when we talked about movies years before, he's like, I said, oh, hey, let's watch Exorcist, and he bought it, and then he sold it 2-3 months later. I was still living there, and he said, I don't want this next to me, No, I understood it's a bit, but you see, when you don't have the background of God, you're scared, you're affected by those. That I understand, but it is what it is. I don't even know why I'm saying this. Having Leonard Place, man. I grew up in Saint Leonard. I spoke about the Leonard in Missouri. That's in the past. In our woods that Sonia left a little crate. What happened with the Comet Borisov? It's gone. It's gonna come back when? Because there was coded there that it was Sonia that played that is a actress, current actress that played Sonia, no, Natasha, Peter, and the Great Comet of 1862 or 32, and then she left a little crate, and that place looked at me. Down the hill, there was Robbie. And I think she grew up just under Missouri, and that's why she couldn't go. And there's a highway there actually. And then I went down like John Goodman in shorts, and I said they wouldn't like it because I'm hairy. We know Elijah was hairy, probably St. John. That's the spirits of everywhere, man. There's the spirits of Antichrist everywhere. Me, I'm sick, man. But this morning I heard a vision in a word. I heard hypochondriac. So I researched that, and it's somebody that look, I'm close to the hospital right here. It says, I checked my place there if I had something in the mail. I'm opening a bank account, didn't come. My old address. So hypochondriac is somebody that makes a sickness for people who don't know. They see themselves as fragile, and apparently that makes themselves their own, but maybe they have chronic pain, we don't know, at certain level, and they just stay ahead, close to bed, like a snake or not, because they're not following God. They don't have that supernatural power, or they don't have your family to help you, or any help exterior. You might have been up and downs in your health, and you beat them immediately. You had somebody to help you financially, or friends, let's go out. But some people don't have nobody, and they start to get fragile through the years. Chronic pain, they can have been a trauma. In my case, suddenly you fall from grace, something happens, you slip, you made a big mistakes, and whatever the cause of the hypochondriac, but it's related to the sternum, okay? The hypochondriac with the ribs, and I got my rib kicked in, and now it pumped out in high school by kids of mafioso, which I didn't know back then. It was Italy, but I knew it later, because when I studied in 2014, coming out of jail, it's like, and my ex-girlfriend was hitting me, and then after she cheated me, when I took a place, rented a place on Young Street, and went to work finally, been with her all the time, and old habits. She went to pick the medication, and now I took picture, people say, oh, she's pretty, and then she went there and said that she met some friends of her friends and brought the guy, transgender, I don't know what the that's funny now, with the stars and Angel, and there was another drummer again, I think, and the guy took a beer of mine. I see two blues open half the way, slept without a condom. Oh man, dude, I was at work, she didn't answer, I know somebody was gone, I came, she fell asleep and started to tell me that. I heard to not get upset, but I did a little bit, slap her like this on the side, cause a blues. But you have to understand that she was hitting me like really like 40 times. I don't know why I was staying, because and now she's really in bad thing, she's been in all kinds of drugs, man. I don't know why. When you lost everything and you see somebody close to you in some ways that needs help. I was like the helper sick, and she was the sick helper. I made a poem about this back in the days when I first met her. It was weird how I fell in love with this. She was played by some people somewhere, and that started with abuse of her father. And then when I tried to help my new landlord, a woman that wanted me to even have sex with her other person that lived there, uh, like you, go out with her like you like a son, and kicked her out when I went to work on first day, and nothing happened between me and her because she looked young, didn't know her age. I was just passing there buying weed, and there was no weed. Those black guys sold me some dry in black bag flowers and for $20, and went there, and she had those. She had the, what do you call, mental problems, man, and she could switch. She could be a very gentle or nothing. And that time she was very gentle, and my landlord kicked her out. It was really pity. I never seen somebody pity like this. When I went in, took a shower, she was smelling like piss. She looked like 14 years old, 16, so I did nothing. We slept immediately. She said already, yeah, but then she passed out herself. And in the morning I said, well, I gotta go work. We needed money. I said, do you have welfare? No. She tells me her age. I'm not too sure. But then I said, okay, we'll go. By that time, my landlord kicked her out. Tried to look for her. Then they think I'm a cop. Looked for her for 2 weeks. Been told she was there for months in a corner in front of a bar. And I'm like, was she in front of a bar because she's too young to go there? No ID with her. Everything seems strange to me. In Montreal, you wouldn't see, really, I haven't seen that. You wouldn't see, and I was an artist on the street, you wouldn't see people losing their mind because it's with the drug crack. They don't really care, and that you would see on only one street. And by the fact, I rented on that street, but it was not bad. You would see two, three crackheads back in the 90s at night, or in that where the bus is coming in and out of cities. And I rented there because it was a cheap room on the page, and it was not bad. But in Toronto, and I'm not saying because of the black people that's up, but the rampant of that drug and how wide it is affecting people here as a recreational drug, oh man, compared to the more Canadian or French Canadian, or I don't know, but compared to Montreal that time, uh, you were really like looking down if you were doing that. I didn't know nobody was doing that. Even people who were doing recreational drugs, I never heard them really telling doing crack. Even in the clubs, ecstasy back then was weed. They might have been CPP or like hallucinator one time, or whatever they were used to call it. But let's not talk about drugs. But here it's, yes, and so what? She's crazy. It's a crackhead. The city is big, so they're everywhere, and people start to not care when they see somebody in need of that. Now, back then I was a bit more like native, you know, in a sense of innocence, or and tried to help. And I'm pretty sure she lost her life and I lost mine, and that's why we had something in common, but very opposite. I've been with her, I was not doing drugs, and she went out, but then there will be other bad roots that grew up in her, with his father abusing her, and then she told me boyfriend, if it's true, in high school, and then he did the same because she wanted to wait for marriage, and then she was just a mess, looking like Marilyn Monroe, small, blonde, kind of, or redhead blonde, and just a pure mess, man. Father now a satanic, studying guitar, showing guitar, and it's a piece of shit. When I pray God what happened to her, and I feel myself like a rain roll, and in pitch black darkness, and I looked above me, I don't see nobody, but I feel, and I say, Daddy? I'm like, oh man. And her mom told me that immediately she left her before she was born, and then she was visiting on the weekend, and that male had a new girlfriend which was a real witch, so, and was jealous of her and started to put curses, maybe because she knew that the guy was sleeping with his daughter. Just a pure goddamn mess. And these people start to have no emotion, so I went all the bad stuff. like those songs that you would hear during that time, 2012 to 16. I can lift you up. I can. All these got chains when I went in jail, and we don't talk about it. Stolen times when I was in jail during that time for 4 months. It's just pure craziness, man. If she would have been normal, probably stayed there for a year. The advocate told me it's not funny. The law had changed, and if there was one blue stuff, oh, but there was lying always, man. It happened to me. When people trying to hit you multiple times, even in fight, and they always trying to look it bad. I don't know why, but in court they had stuff, and I'm like, God, they just had to look it more bad when they talk. Or I don't know if it's the pressure of the. I remember my first girlfriend one time. She thought I was an artist, and she went to work. And I was dedicated. It's just how I am born. I didn't understand all the professional stuff, and we lived together for about 6 months. And one time she came and she started to drink with her friend, and that was fine. I was home. Big bottles were 18, 20 in Montreal. And Cécile Lalou, she wolf means, and she goes there. And one time she comes drunk, and I say nothing. And we had 3 rooms sub-rented for 6 months, trying alone, in Montreal. After mating for like 6 months, and she was a virgin, and then she couldn't cope with that pressure of art, I guess. But one time she comes and say, I was just on supportive, $800 a month only. I was giving her 4 for the rent, I think, or 5, and the rest was for my food, and it was not enough. But anyway, she comes and say, "Where's my $20?" Which I never stole from her. And I say, "I don't know." And she's drunk. "Yeah, where's my $20?" "I don't know. Leave me alone." Actually, I was drawing all night, so I went to sleep, and not even my bed or with her in a third small ones. Which, when I was there, it meant like not a lot of times, but I was in deep thoughts, and I was reading, thinking, and I started to draw a big session for about 6 hours, middle of the night. That's how I used to work sometimes, 18 hours drawing. I went to sleep, and she comes. Oh man, maybe I was sleeping for 4 hours after a white night. "Where's my $20?" "What?" She came drunk, saying, "Where's that?" "I don't know. Just go." Blah, blah. So I went up, and I literally just get out, but very slowly with 2 hands. And I think she did like this to me. And I start smiling because I was so peaceful. And she says, "You're the devil." Which I never read the Bible, but probably she did. So this Belgium girl, and we know how satanic Belgium can be in Freemasonry. And that's the first one. And the second one, Germany, which is another thing. Oh man, that redhead German with blood of blacks and grandparents. Oh man. Anyways, so this guy, she does this, and then she calls her mom crying, and her mom says she wants to talk with you, and I don't. I just want to go bed, so I don't. And her mom told me later, "Hey, when my daughter cries, call me crying, and you don't want to talk to me, I call the cops." I didn't know better, so I don't. I didn't do nothing wrong. And I think she called her, "Oh," but it was more probably feeling, but I didn't know why. You know, at that time I was working. Let me work. I might be at home, but I'm an artist. I have my. It's not the time for telling me that you think I stole $20. Anyways, get out from jail the next day. I have to sign to come back or not talk with her. I call her still, and I say, "Hey, I didn't took," and she's like, "Oh, I know, I was drunk. I remember I spent it," or whatever she said, which was absolutely the truth. Whatever she told me, I don't know. In the meantime, she was working at this high downtown cafe, and she goes out one time and tells me she sucked the dick of the David's Bowie drummer. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I did it. Yeah, we went into a hotel room. And I'm like, I think I said, that's it, no more sex. Or I said that we're done, or I'm leaving. And she says, no, it's a joke. To this day, I think she's still motherfucker. Why would you go there? Because after that, when we had sex, or she might have something, she said, oh, you're good. To who she was comparing me? I always thought this. She must have compared me with somebody recently. But anyways, I was not jealous. I was just wanted to have a good relationship in loneliness. Mother piece of shit, that girl one time I didn't know the Bible and she called me Saint Emilion when we're in sex. I stopped. I said, hey, sainthood was somewhere to me that when you were good, but I didn't know Jesus. I'd never read the Bible. I didn't know nothing. And that's probably possible because you're baptized. It's there, the seed, but it's out there if you haven't read it or not knowing. And that's why Catholics, a lot of time, they think we're baptized and you leave it. No, man, it's a big loss. It's like giving somebody 6 billions and saying you don't have that money. You don't tell them all their lives. Leave it there. A lot of wrong is doing. Maybe that guy would have known it earlier, would have shared, and the world needs that money in circulation. Maybe, if somebody buys a lot of money and is not circulating, oh, big idea for the Antichrist. No, I'm joking. Okay, so I'm trying to be humoristic when it's not too bad, but there's a lot of bad things, so we cannot be humor going on in the world. This is serious. So I don't know why I was talking about these things, but I was about to get to the point of all this with girlfriend and people who were trying to hit you, and then they had up. And this guy with the 20 bucks, when I go, my lawyer gives me the sheet, and she tells me, I don't know why he arrested you. He came. I said no. He said, did he hit you? I said no. And then my lawyer shows me the fucking thing. She did say no. But then he asked her, do you feel threatened? And it says yes. And upon that, he arrests me because we were living together. I said, why would you say yes if you say you didn't? You didn't tell me that. And she's like, well, he made me do it. Son of a bitch. I remember when he handcuffed me and we went down the stairs because we were living in like these kind of going up. Nobody was living in the back. It's just how it was, I think. Kind of high class duplex, whatever. And I say, why would he mix in my life? And he handcuffed me. I said, he's jealous because she was really pretty. And he said, jealous? I said, well, listen, I'm gonna shut up because I think we're going down now. And he says, yeah, I think so, because you could have pushed me. So, but matter of fact, and that was a shock to me, and but that started to screw. And her said, when I point that to her, she said the same. Why is he mixing in my life? Because she repeated the thing that I say about this fucker days later. And just as sad. Lost billions. She lost billions because it came down to one night, man. And after this operation, my mom, I didn't call her. I returned. I couldn't talk to her no more. Almost. I don't know what it was. Nothing happened for that. And we still saw each other in hiding, living a little bit. His dad comes. I paint him on a wall where we're sub-renting. He comes. He's a kind of high-class chief, but not really. Sold his name in a store. Comes there. Hey, my name is respected. And we call him like Rimbaud, which was my master by back then, the greatest poet, because I was an artist. I didn't know Jesus. I must have had 2, 3 like this. Jam Morrison, then though I was French, then Rimbaud, and then Robert Bresson, which is in the movie, and taking out the acting, which with the weed, I thought it was a way to emancipate you, set yourself free from all these demons of jumping and romping. And I thought Robert Bresson was a saint, but I didn't know what the saint would eat. I was selling weed, with glasses and hats. I was always spaced, and from all this anger and growing with no father, suddenly I'm a pothead, and I think it's peaceful. And there's club after hours, and I'm jumping speeds and dancing all night, and people looking at me how I used to dance and make sketch, and I'm always flying and talk to nobody, and I artists see me, but and then when I buy to make DJ, I get stolen and hit in the face by an affiliate of Hell's Angels in one of those places I returned, because one of the doormen tried to kick me out one time, and the big boss said no. So when I didn't went for many months, he said, hey, this guy's selling. But I went with two of friends, which I didn't went, that were sellers, and they didn't. He just give us behind the thing one each. He had three. And this hell angel, whatever he comes, called a Shane, puts us in the corner. I shouldn't name him. Says, hey, where? I said, we're not selling. A hiding place there, hiding door. But I have all my money of me that I'm selling weed. Like, I'm making $400-600 a day, and I just work. Says, why you have all this? I say, and he says the palette, which means this chunk, for selling jargon. I say, I'm working. He said, where? I say, up. And that up was easy going compared to down subway. It was another click, but all together. But there was like competition. But he shouldn't have done that, because it was the same, man. He fucking temptation. He kicked me in the face, in the nose, stole my money. My pressure was always calm. When they took my pressure at the hospital, the lady had to do it 2 times, 3 times an hour, because she says it's not working. I always was calm. Like I was a saint before knowing saint. And then it went down one time when after that I had this operation. And I had a good one. It had went, but man, without body and feeding. And my mom and brother buy this new house, from poverty to house, and I'm not ready. No, go before we go in that new neighborhood. Don't wear the glasses and stuff. They'll think crazy. That's not how to think, anyways. So we did this, and apparently it goes well. After the operation, already the nurse hits on me, wants to know my whole life. Before with knows even more by wearing glasses, and at that time after I was wearing more down, so you can see now the sinus came from there. But when I was young and sleeping all night and studying, was really like a lion, skinny, no sinuses. So I went from everything in my life: poverty, sick, blessed, healthy, never need sleep. Like I remember one of my friends of my brother went one time, and they grew up together, and says, hey, he says, Christian, your brother is never tired. Because when he went, I was just napping, and I would never nap. And he came, and I was always happy coming out. He said, your brother is never tired. For years, you haven't seen me tired. And my brother says, yeah, sometimes. And that makes me laugh. Just like, yeah, sometimes. Like, sometimes this guy is tired, And that was a blessing, man. I think I had a mole here, which I removed, and not 3D, but just enough, and not big, but just enough. And so I felt touch, and I think I was always up, and I had long hair here. I was always up and down like a lion, but and my mom was taking over half my bed, so I was never sleeping, and that caused me to be like a crow, and almost like a crow eats rotten meat and spaghettis in the freezers. And my mom was not a nurse, serving food in restaurant, and I never grew up eating one lamb. I never grew up eating very something, and was in the lunch was here $5, and eating always fast food somewhere, which with my best friend, which grew up now and is in RCMP and went to all kinds of Garda for the money and all kinds before, and army. It was cool for him. He had other food home, I did. We always had food, that's true. When we went, she was working double shift, but she was cooking our food, sometimes even between shift. So I cannot blame on her, but taking my damn half room, and my brother was 5 years older, taking with woman. So apparently that was the excuse to not share with him. They just had to rent a fucking, back then was nothing, just a duplex, man. I can invest in this instead of clothes, and that was an investment to get my room so I can grow up and have a living and give to them. Maybe that was God's plan, and then I lost it, pushing myself to have my part and as an artist. But then I came that night with the girlfriend, man. After the operation, my mom, I wanted to call after a month. I couldn't be without somebody after being used, and that's careless, skinless. I haven't touched it. And my mom says, "What, are you gonna call it like this?" So I didn't. Another month passed. Apparently, she tried to call several times. One time I saw it, but apparently more. So my mom must have deleted the number. And stupid. Why would she do that, anyways? And and then she gives me appointment. She doesn't. She said, "Yeah, it looks like." And I was in depression. But many years later, when it finally fixed, people, even my family, even my jealous brother says, "Let's go make pictures," and I didn't want. Everybody was looking at me. I had to fast for like 2 3 weeks, and then it was just too hard. I went to sleep. I grew up again, fucking blind. I woke up just eating one time spaghetti. I said, "My mom, it's too hard." And my mom says, "No, he's a model." And my brother said, "Yeah, yeah." And my brother always had models before, and now he's alone. So coming out from him and doing that was weird. But I was not looking at me. I had taken 2 weeks fasting in the woods. I went back. I even said I was with a girl. So my brother thought, "Oh, that's why." But I told him later, "No, no." So I was just at that time I was Christian, but man, it was, I slept for like 2 weeks, man. And then I had no body, no good skin, because being a blob before artist, not feeding myself, was easy. But then, and with that girl, I had my clothes on like a snake. It was weird. She must have been crazy herself. They used to call her in the moon. But then it could have worked. Could have much work. It's just she would have had to wait 6 months, not even. And that was too much. It's like started to play with my emotions. I know we'll be back. She made plans with the kids before. She would lie to me. I was vegetarian. I was 110 pounds. Now I'm on 170. So all that speed that does to you, and the lies, man, the lies. The devil comes in some people, and then she would give me appointment somewhere and not come, and that was just like, it became too hard. And then she's trying to hurt me with words. And because when I went, I didn't give news for 1 month. She kind of revenge. Um, yeah, and me, what, I saw myself one day almost. So I lost, and then God even told me when I went after him 2010 to 12, and then I changed, went back to my art. He said in a dream last year that two guys were playing poker, and the third one came and said, "Where's the other one?" He said he left. This Freemason god came, 15 billion, third degree Freemason, 50 billion, or 33 degree, third degree Freemason, 15 billion. I didn't know that. And he said he disappeared. And God was showing me how I did disappear. Started to play poker in a place in a Christmas break, and then from there, after I started to lose, went back to art, start smoking weed, But then I was first time my eyes with the sun, just and a big table, and it was nice. And then I put him in the computer for 2 months, man, on Adobe's, the drawing and the color there, so it was be faster. And I did a trademark. I did posters very at the back, at the bottom. Everything was ready to print, man. And was working on this a lot. And then I go on a torrent, a French 4016, and I write there, which was very smaller than the Pirate Bay or stuff like that, or it was in French. And I said, "Goddamn Freemason!" I don't know why I said this in a comment. And that night, while I was downloading something, I'm telling you, 500 gig I had in this Sony Vaio in 2013. Pay 800 back then for it. It was brand new. I woke up and 300 gigs, and my hardware was full by 10 gigs or 5 gigs at that time. I woke up, the whole file, I had no doubles back then. Of all the work that I did, the poster was deleted. And I always suspected these motherfuckers, they did that. Because back then when I was following God and I had the Tundra, I was not thinking I'm the only one, and I was just following my dreams in Toronto. And with the long rope of my finding apostle of divine mercy before it went big, and they put that anti-pope, and then he went about saying the year of mercy, trying to be like me. And when they put, he gives to the other pope mother of mercy, mother of humility. And I was working and putting down in all this place, so God gave it to me. Pretty sure maybe other saints before, because this anti-pope replacement, anti-pope is a big word, but it's replacement by Saint Gallen Mafia and all the enemies of God, and the church put Benedict away by God, pressure and bad and filtration. And I left the church. He left, and it was bad. I thought I could go back, and no, this fake guy, and there was this prophetess, very debatable, Maria Divine Mercy. Was it an inside job even to create more distance? And I'm thinking the name Emilian Divine Mercy just before her on YouTube. So when it comes out, I'm stumbling upon that one of the first, and I'm reading, and I'm like, and I'm a new Catholic, so I was like, what's going on in there? I even passed the message back then, and it was talking about Satanism, pointing fingers, but nicely, but it still can be an inside job if people try to follow you and you're not the right one. Woo! Or, but it was saying like, who used the humility when he wants to be known, that's no more humble, and that's like the false prophet. Many false prophet spirit, and it can be this Francis, Bergoglio, and other signs points to truth. And she said Pope Benedict is gonna abdicate 1 year before, but it was said 1 year before when he returned from a trip, but only accepted later on in 2013. I'm not sure the date and when it was. The prophet that spoke about Apophis said it on that day, the day before, and it came to pass. Nothing happened in 2012, and God told him he will abdicate. But then he said that it was well known before that. The Osservatore Romano, which is the newspaper, said that Pope Benedict had asked the resignation before, but only accepted by the Curia, which means the people, the law of the, not the law, but the ones who are the paperwork in the Vatican, accepted later, 2013. But it was not known outside the circle. But is that was an inside job outside the circle with their New Age background or not? I should reread those. There was prayer, there was fruits. Did she resign after that woman? We know it was Maria Cranberry, and they put her picture, her taking the newspaper, when the newspaper then said it's her buying the newspaper. And did she recanted Jesus? We don't know nothing about her now. Somebody said that she said, oh, I was just doing a job for somebody. We don't know that, because anybody can write anybody. Even the things that Pope Benedict said, the Pope is one. The Pope is one, W-O-N, for the smart ones. When he said one of the first exit he had back, he said, I'm thinking even the Pope, he says, my colleague here, that make sure I'm in good security. That was a bit sarcastic. Only one time I see this Pope sarcastic, and man, that's all he could say. And I accept the sarcasm because it's telling some people it's not how it looks like, and that's how it is in life. So God bless him. Is like we have the Pope, the prophecy of two popes, like he's in jail, and he's in jail, man. And you know we're suffering and complaining in Christ, and I'm thinking, this coronavirus, and people are inside. What is this guy doing? Annoying. And this guy is fucking guys. I don't like this shit, man. It's fucking annoying. Trying to stick with me, but I'm talking with my intelligence. I can't stick with yours. Fucking not preaching here. I'm making a video. Go online and check it. So the thing is, this guy, what I was saying, it hits me like a hammer, man. It's not the time for me to mix. And the Pope of Two Prophecies, man. Go and check it up. You're gonna see this is what's happening now. So I'm counting to talk about other things today, so I'm gonna make it. Fucking this guy comes back, looks at me. I don't know, man. I don't know why people still look at people like this, especially if it's a guy and woman and he's not looking. There's two things. You look at a woman. If you're a guy, if you're gay, I'm not even talking about this. But then it's what? Why would you look at a guy? You would look at a guy for two reasons. One, if you're not gay, is one, you need a teacher, and that's Jesus Christ, man. So go find Jesus Christ, man. Read your Bible. And if you're passing through it, then don't look at me. Because if you don't accept Jesus and you don't care, don't look at me coming, because what is good in me comes from him. So don't come here and trying to entertain you, because that's the loss of time, man, and you're just on the other side. So don't come here in this channel no more if you're not expecting at least to be good. I'm not saying to do it tomorrow. That I will let that pass. You can come, but start somewhere, man, because otherwise you'll just be in the enemy side. And one time it's like my dream. This summer God told me a woman was running out. I was in this place where I saw God in Saint Leonard, Montreal, and I looked through my window, which I talk about. My mom was there. It was in the front. My brother had the back one. So I look on the street and I see a woman running away from somebody with a baby, and that's Archie Mountbatten. But she's running away. I think an older woman, and I'm saying, "Come!" And I feel somebody's chasing her, a woman, which is like a witch, black hair. And I say, "Come, I'll open you the door." And I opened the door between the block door and the entrance outside, which is open. And in the lobby, the small lobby, suddenly the third one that was chasing comes, and I feel she's not hiding no more. So I'm like, what's going on? And then I realized, I looked, and the woman that was chasing her said, he is Damien. And Damien was like the Antichrist in that movie in Hollywood and LA. And now we know that Archie Mountbatten is in LA, and I entitled that movie, and I edited it with background because God told me to edit it back then. But man, I started to stop very fast after a week or so, and opening the door to Antichrist, and because I said I open you the door, and that's fine. Not because I want the Antichrist, but I want Jesus to come. And if that means to elevate the spiritual awareness, so be it, man. So be it. If some Christian will be put to death, man, if Jesus has to come, so be it. And to this I say, come Jesus, like in the Bible. You should pray people the rosary and say, come Jesus. How come there's not a rosary of the coming, and can't they doing this for the bad? You say, come Jesus, man. And if you can't say that because you have sexual depravity, well, shame on you. Get more chaste, man, until you have no bad thoughts, man. Say, come Jesus, come Jesus, come Jesus. Like, I'm checking double standard because I did something sexual after 6-7 months. I shouldn't talk this when I talk about Jesus, or in a year recently, but I talked about it yesterday, and that just happened. But just before I thought about this prayer, and I'm like, that's why I can talk about it like a day or two before, and it's in the book of Revelation. Who hears me say, "Come, Jesus," and then even the apostle said, "Amen," and he said it. We gotta say it, man. You gotta open the door to God and to Jesus' return, and that starts in you and then in people. Man, you should say like a rosary with rosary beads. You could say it 100 times a day. Come, Jesus. Jesus back then last year told me, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" And say it, "Jesus, I love you." That starts to heal the heart a lot. Just affected me because I returned and I closed the door to my family, and that started to have a seed of sin, a seed of. You can't close your heart to nobody. All you can do, if somebody is in your family that is not for God, you have to take some pain. You have to say, okay, you can limit your talk or just like a little bit while you're doing your life and in God, hopefully, but you cannot close the door, man. And I did it because sometimes we out of almost energy, but I'm pretty sure if we're down a little bit, it's just for a moment. Next lunch, and after you feel better, you feel free. So maybe at the start, because you're cold, you're gonna feel hot shock, but at least it's not a cold shock, it's a hot shock. I never heard that stuff, but I start to say it. And that's it for now, man. I think so. So I was happy. The third they did install me because it was published in February about so-called intermediate black hole. But I heard that not talk about the space no more. But the second one definitely stole me, the real one, which is the new one. About. And in those dreams, I even know the third one was Chinese guy took it out. The first one, the woman with the guy on my shoulders, Fanuni, and friend of the woman that said, "Hey, that's mine," and check my plants to sell, and then really I attracted the attention, and my hashtagging and everything, 100 views that day, and new discoveries told me, and then I put a new one in 2-3 days after withholding it and saying there's 2 stars, and I was hiding, and they checked double stars. They trying to look, and I said they don't know it, and they looked, and I said there's black at the end of the room, but nobody came. That's obviously black hole. Anybody with background, and I gotta listen to God, But I'm tired, man. I'm pushing. I'm shaking the tree. Even I start to put yesterday in the descriptions my dreams and before, and I wanted to go back in my really shadowy on the go prophecies like this, and I'm not a bitch that will make up and have 5,000 views in a day, and that doesn't fucking mean a shit. It's all a fucking joke, man. It's actually taking the spot to the real ones, and me from my backyard that I just talked to you, and I won't even say what I would do, and I could have been in music, and I think one of the best, if not anything. Even back in the days, that girlfriend I said I wanted to have a guitar, I never played, and I said for electronic stuff, and I was all spacey with glasses and hats and Kangol hairy hats and all suits, like I think like Prince, but without thinking of him. I didn't know him much, and I said with a guitar, and she says, "You're crazy." Now you've seen Avicii. That unfortunately, if I would have made it art, he wouldn't have killed himself, because we would have been really close touch friends. And God told me, man, when I returned last year, He said, many people have fallen because of you. And He said, I think He said I should have accounted that. So I gotta make it back, and somehow, man, it's gonna be a big miracle. It has to be something that I have to make amend of it, man. So maybe less videos in the future. Maybe this is gonna serve. Um, Probably more preaching, because preaching, this is the way, man. This is the way to people who are dying outside and not only looking for a movie or stuff. But at least I see that God's tried to, maybe through his ways, which is not dark, but people who are narrow-minded even in God wouldn't see that I started with prophetic sport, and whatever it was coming from the devil or not, it might help. He said, congratulations, you won a pair of the brown speakers. Unfortunately, I thought even an hour ago, and now with the NASA people and people who are narrow-minded for God and think it's all spacey and stuff. Yeah, that was maybe primates. And God even told me, remember those and the Rastas, and Rastas are like asteroid back then. Yesterday passed somebody and like, oh, that's what God wanted. Back then I thought free people of coronavirus. When that dream came a month ago, and I said, remember the Rastas, the pizzas, Rastas, and whatever it was. I said, free those Rastas, free those guys with drugs only, don't let them die like this bird right there. And then, oh, fucking chimney cream free. Anyways, sorry, I start back swearing a bit since I blocked the door of my mom. I just had enough of their come go. It's like, what the heck? And God is showing a bit of everywhere. It's not like what it is. But eventually I have to go and be with the real boys in the church. And but I didn't publish all those prophetic. I'm telling you, being in that kind of prophetic, man, I've published one or two, but they're funny. When there was like dirty stuff, I wouldn't see it. I would just know it. Man, it's like the Predators will win, and the guy play against the Blackhawks, and the woman has the color hair like Blackhawks, and the guy wants to buy weed, and coronavirus comes, and there's not gonna be more weed, and the guy shows what was it, saying to a younger girl, not I have weed, but what he was saying, I feel like he was buying the weed, he wanted to sleep with her, but he didn't. He only put that finger up her butt, and it's like screwing you. And it was like, what was the goal? 3-2, the exact score. Oh man, I'm telling you, some dreams I didn't publish because then I got mad because it went nowhere. Like, first I wanted to prove one point, but second, the interpretation was hard. Then I got mad for that, mad at the people. No donations or stuff. I think I asked one, and then I just kept it for myself by the dozens and dozens, and I went up and down from nothing to $2,000 in a week or two to more, and betting all day, even besides the dreams, which was not good at all. And even God told me, if you're not sure, don't do it. But I still did it. Even life, you can do it. Oh man, sometimes with $30 exact score, man. What was it? Football, and when the Longhorns won by 30 points or something, and God told me how age and stuff, and they were on the dog. They're like that brought me with just a little bucks, $3,000. Was like times 30 your money or something. Anyways, some stories were really funny, man. Sometimes was the Devils, NHL, that was Freddy Krueger with his glove. Man, there was some crazy stuff, man. Back and forth, the teeth was the shark rubbing. No, the Blackhawks rubbing the Sharks' teeth. They won. I said that one on time though, and at the end I was just And one day I shared 3, and I was finally there and going all day and studying sport at the library and a bit of everything, and coronavirus came and they say everybody out, and I was there for about a week or 2, and I had some players in this, and everything was prophetic, man. And but it did stop, and it did stop. One time it did stop. The big bucks had long time for Georgia to win, but I chased that one first, and then I thought I had confirmation, you know. But I was just told to put half there of the 10 initial grand and half to rent a place, which I didn't. And I heard if I wouldn't have talked about it, they would have won. But I know what it means now. It means in a spiritual end of war things, and now I'm talking about it, and now maybe it's a reverse. Hey, woof! And that's why these guys intel or something, even though if I'm a priest or an artist, they should talk as a not a hidden agent, but a helper agent that to me. And if my background, because of fights and battles which God told them last year in a dream, battles which I didn't know, they know what it means. It's like battles, you know, good and evil, they're called battles. Some people attack you and it slipped through. There's no proof, there's no witness, but you get hurt because there's 5 guys against 1 guy, and I had a blob. I was a child fasting all my life, not even a skin, and you do the minimum and it looks bad. But if I was crazy, an artist 20 years, even in chronic pain, something would have happened. I would have walked somewhere. The matter of fact, I never stole something, and look, that's another proof that I'm not a criminal. Another thing is it's not about the speech, because I'm hit in the face and English is not my really first language. So all kinds of bullshit. I remember when the judge said that, and my lawyer went against, and she wanted to give me a fine, and my lawyer that I promised to painting, a guy, a real motherfucking killer in the street, God told me before, after, if he was one of them, as he told me. But anyways, that's another question. The body they found in Toronto woods in 2012, there were 50, and I was one of the victims one time in the woods. So I told him later when I saw the guy, say, hey, listen, I had a dream, stop this. He said, what? I said, stop this if it's you. And at that time I was studying, I had to study some killers and a documentary. I just didn't know what to do all day. I was eating McDonald's and I did it. Somebody asked me, why would you study that? I said, well, I was so down in my life, not knowing where to do. I was just looking for people who were worse than me. Anyway, so, and I knew those since I was Hollywood, and one guy in high school gave me a book of those, and it was fascinating to read that in the 90s compared to other stories. That back then there was no internet, there was nothing. You would see only movies from Hollywood, and it was censored probably. So there was really weird. And one of the high school weird guy that was new from another school passed me that. He had a mohawk. And so anyways, so the thing is, fucking idiot, I cannot think until I get the fuck out of here. Anyways, so should have known better, because when I was in the woods and they checked me up, I had a feeling that one detective, when they looked, and I was sleeping without nothing, no blankets, and trying to say where I'm going now, after kind of leaving God the first time. That's when it happened, after the gambling, and it just went on and on for a year, circumcision and everything. You know, I just had nothing, nowhere to go, and I went there in the woods at 500 only welfare, and I would spend it all. First time massage woman before the second girlfriend, and just had nothing for the rest of the month after a day or two, and eating McDonald's, or what would people leave and refill drinks, and I was watching those things. Or maybe I would add $100 for a week or two, and I was reading that, studying that, and the 50 body is one detective said, no, it's not him. In the spirit, that feeling. And I was drawn with the legs, and the guy that was in the wood, that weird guy all his life, I had a talk with him years later in Jesus Christ, and he was jumping left and right, and he said that's the most crazy talk I never had. And you would wanted me to sit down on a dirty chair. I look at one thing was all rusted. I felt there was blood on it. You could just feel it. And with the Holy Spirit, it was very holy and a child even back then. So, but he couldn't touch me. He wanted me to stay after dawn, and I didn't, and it was really weird. And when even I press while going, I press, but it's like lacking the. You give it in the hands of God, and for 1 second I looked at my back and I try, and one thing came, one plant there in the woods, and cut my. So it was just showing, like, you have to trust. You put it in God. Don't even look back like Lot or hesitate 1 second. Ah, come on, what this fucking guy even wanna piss? Fucking idiot, man. Losing his fucking time, looking in the wrong ways. Looking at the good time guys thinking they're bad because they're not in fucking uniforms, fucking idiot. Other fucking good agents are somewhere else. That fucking idiot. Yeah, what I'm gonna do here, I'm making a video. It looks like, look at this fucking guy upstairs. Look at this fucking guy. I heard don't put it in, otherwise they'll get mad. It's like when you do something and they don't like it. They just want it to one way.